own little thing. Like Ambush Bug appeared in 52, but other than that, he's only in his own little thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, Ambush Bug did in 52 for a real reason, a couple of reasons. One, because Keith was involved and they wanted to do it with Keith. Second reason why we did that is that Ambush Bug actually started in continuity, working in the Superman books. That's the reason why. And a lot of what you're saying with Nort, agree. If you have Nort in the book, he's gonna be presented in the tone that the story appears. It's not gonna be, you know, a comedic version of Blackest Night. I don't think that's the right way to go.
But showing comedy through tragedy, showing someone, you know.
That's a different book. Now you're talking about a different thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's always.
Could shine in that certain thing.
See, I think there's a lot of comedy in Hex, and people will argue that with me. But I laugh out loud sometimes, and I'm like, oh my, that's horrible. So I think in superhero comics, I think sometimes things happen and they're so over the top. It's funny, but not in the same way.
And as I always say,
you know?
people always, it's two different things we talk about. We talk about comedy that comes from character situations, humor comes from the fact that that's how they face adversity. That's how they face the challenge. Then you talk about comedy, which is situation comedy, which are just gags.
Right.
We're not going to put our characters in gag situations because I think it belittles those characters.
Right.
I think the way you got to do is be able to present, if a character cracks a joke, there's a scene in Infinite Crisis where, you know, I think it's Ollie and Hal are standing there and everything's at the end of the world and they're talking about baseball.
Right.
It's a funny scene. Think about it, they're in the middle about the end of the world and they're talking about baseball. It's all character. That shows that these guys, under incredible pressure, could find something else to talk about and keep their minds focused on that. That's what I like. But when you talk about things where a guy trips over a chair or they act like, you know, like a bunch of drunks, not necessary. I think it belittles the characters.
Yeah, I think, you know, with Terra, we did a thing with Power Girl, where Terra and Power Girl go shopping.
Yeah.
And, you know, Terra comes out with all the wrong outfit. And it's like, it's funny, but it's not, you know, it's trying to also develop the character at the same time, that she doesn't understand what she's doing.
And the book that Jimmy's doing, the new Power Girl book that Jimmy's doing, has humor in it. It has a lot of humor in it. But it's not a comedy book.
Right, she doesn't, you know, trip over her boobs or anything.
Yeah. Although I would buy it. With the Flintstones. Right here, sir. I think we got a couple.
I have a few questions. Well, one, you were saying about the hardcover coming out for Final Crisis. Is there any particular reason that the two issues of Batman that kind of tied in a little bit with it, is there any reason why they're not going to be included? Will they be included as a separate book then?
It's probably more tied to with the Batman books themselves, because it really fed into a lot of what's happening in Batman.
Yeah, because pretty much I read, you know, I read Batman R.I.P. and then after that,
I guess the argument is about the mega story. The battle, the Superman Beyond material, and even some of the submit material, is essential to the mega story. About, you know, the big flow of the story. That's a bite to show what happened to Batman over here, but it's not as important to the big story. I think the addition of Superman Beyond enhances the entire read. The Batman material will just make it a more fun read, but I think we want to make it a big book, and that's what we got with the material. What? I'm not sure actually.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're already collected it.
Yeah.
CC3.
Yeah.
I wasn't too sure on that.
Yeah.
That's why.
Okay, back there, sir.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm right back. I apologize.
That's right.
You know, 1 second, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, another thing, I was just kind of curious, because I really wasn't thinking about this now in terms of the lanterns now, but all of a sudden it's like there's one color missing now.
What color is that?
White.
Is white a color?
No,
White color. Okay, next question.
Right? Because
What else we got there? Yeah. I know. That's it. We actually, we picked all the colors out from a box of Lucky Charms, and there was no white marshmallows. Strangely enough, there was no white marshmallows. Let me go back there, sir.
whole brain right now.
Yeah.
Okay, are you guys planning any big 70th anniversary special at Comic-Con? Are you gonna do a big 70th year, or are you guys only 75?
There's no plans that I know for any sort of celebration, so probably the answer is no, there's no plans for celebration right now. That's not something that I get involved in. Again, one of the things I like to do is just focus on what we're doing right now, and just keep pushing forward. I mean, I know that they're aware of certain anniversaries coming around, but I really don't focus on that in the books that we're doing. So the answer is no plans right now.
Do we know Batman Year 70 coming out?
Not that I know of, no sir. Not that I know of. Okay. Green Lantern.
Pleasure to meet you guys. Thanks for coming to Orlando. What's happening with the Atom? Like the last Atom book, although it was a little preposterous at times, with the floating head and all that stuff.
Yeah.
But who is the Atom now? We got two Atoms. They're even confused in the books. They're saying
That was the last time you see them, and that starts to get resolved in the James Robinson Justice League story that's about to come out. I think should be announced next week. Should be coming out, I think, in June or July. I think it's July. And we start that story in there. But Ray Palmer's front and center in that book, and we address Ryan Choi's role. Ryan is another one of those characters that that'll be played a role within the DC universe. We have a lot of great plans coming down the road. I'm really happy to say. And more importantly, there should be some. We're going to present them in some interesting ways that I hope everybody likes them. But you'll be seeing Ray Palmer with the Justice League in the James Robinson book by July.
I wasn't sure if you were shelving him because
No, not at all. They're all there. They're all there.
Tony Bedard.
Hey, Tony. All right. I think we're wrapping up. We got a couple more questions. I'm not going to anymore. I went through your book. I don't like your questions.
We have tea.
Okay, let me see it. I'll make the judgment.
I made sure it was good ones.
Okay, what do you think? Which one?
Dan is a son of a one.
Where are we going to hear
About the creditor.
the one? I can't read your writing.
No.
What is it?
The creators. So like when we get announcements for the creators, they're week late.
Oh.
And
Wow, probably. You gonna be in San Diego?
no.
Okay, we're not gonna do it there either.
Okay. To be honest, it's going to be shorter. Like how many weeks?
I can't really say right now.
Okay.
Okay.
See, that wasn't too bad.
No, actually, you're learning. This is good. By next year, you might even be some. No, I'm just kidding. Come on, you can step on my Mets hat, man. We got something like that. Blue, sir.
Oh, hello.
Okay, wait, another Star Trek.
Yes.
Okay, cool, dude. We need a Richard. He just got killed in the back there.
The Justice Society has been around since World War II. And then you run into interesting things like the current Black Canary is actually the daughter of the original Black Canary, which makes the original Black Canary like 60 when she had the child. Are there any plans to insert a new generation in there somewhere as World War II gets farther and farther in the past? Are we going to fix these continuity?
Yeah, we actually went the other way. We decided to make World War II happen in the 60s. It's kind of interesting because that whole underground thing's now played by JFK, and I think it's really interesting, especially with Cuba.
Yeah, I love how Nixon was assassinated.
There's only one way I can describe it. I talked to you before, I mentioned before about the whole concept of the generational aspect of the DC universe. And when you start to do that, it all starts to unravel. When you put a firm date and stamp it, like World War II, which is a stamp, it starts to come apart.
I mean, Peter Parker would be 70.
Right, are you going to detach the Justice Society from World War II? I mean,
Well,
somehow,
what we're
something
doing
has to
is
be
that
done.
we are playing up the generational aspect of the Justice Society more so than where they actually started. What I consider the first generation of DC's characters revolves around Justice Society without an actual timeline attached. As we call it, the Mystery Men period, before the costumes became front and center, before heroes became public. So the Justice Society identifies a clear period of time that begins and ends prior to the introduction of what we consider our first public superhero, which is Superman.
You got to mess with everything. I mean, freedom fighters wouldn't work.
Yeah,
You know, now, obviously.
everything starts to come apart, and rather than, there's a concept that was in a book that we've sort of pushed aside, which is a thing called Justice Experience, which is an interesting attempt to say what was the Justice League team in the 70s. But the problem is that you create all this extra material that really has no weight, merit, or any ties to anything, and you're starting to try to force stories in that really don't belong. And a lot of what we do is try to build a natural extension of our characters and stories, the things that people really care about, more so than anything else. We're trying to build on what people like and trying to justify where everything fits very cleanly. It'll never work because every day you put a stamp on a timeline, it's already outdated by the next day. You know, that's why I'm not big on saying what periods of time, and we lock things down in that fashion.
Yeah, honestly, you never, I mean, if you're writing books now, my rule is I try never, ever to